Hey friends, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Deborah Reuben, and this is the 42nd episode of the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast. Can you believe it? 42. If you have geekish tendencies like I do, or if you're a fan of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, then you know why this number is a pretty big deal. If you don't already know, then listen in to find out what's so special about 42. I really, really loved this conversation about AI with my friend Ken Droz. It's all about exploring, experimenting, and embracing AI. And there are three crucial concepts for successfully adopting any new technology: context, curiosity, and collaboration. And it was really interesting. I was reflecting on today's conversation, and these themes are woven throughout our conversation: how to think about, but also how to get the best out of your interactions with the latest AI tools today. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Let's listen in. Welcome to the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast, where we explore the art of the possible and connect the dots between wildly exciting innovation and practical adoption. Today, we're going to dive deep into the AI rabbit hole with Ken Droz, an innovative AI consultant and solutions expert. He's revolutionizing how businesses leverage AI to streamline workflows and accelerate growth. As the co-founder of BotLeads AI, Ken is designing AI-driven systems that automate lead generation and help medium-sized businesses to connect with their ideal clients. He also empowers professionals to navigate the rapidly evolving AI landscape through his training programs and community leadership. So I invite you to join us as we geek out with Ken on the practical applications of AI, from ChatGPT and Claude to the possibilities of AI integrated workflows. Ken, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Hello, geeks.
Yeah, let's geek out. So before we dive in, and I really wanted to just explore your perspective, because you've been down the AI rabbit hole for quite a while. But before we get into that, I wanted to just dive into a little bit of your backstory, because you're doing work now with AI that spans automation design, lead generation systems. Can you share a bit of that backstory? What are some of those highlights that led you to first fall down the AI rabbit hole? And what sparked your passion for practical applications of AI?
Yeah, thanks for asking. When ChatGPT came out, it was really fun. I was seeing people posting images on Twitter with, like, from Dolly, where they were creating these. They were really weird pictures of things that were Spider-Man climbing the Space Needle or something, and they were able to generate these images really quick. And I was like, how is the internet able to do this? And I started playing around with it a little bit, just out of curiosity. And the first thing that piqued my curiosity is I come from a music background. I used to work for a record label for about 8 years, a jazz label. And so I was like, could it create another verse of Space Oddity by David Bowie? And I was like, okay, so what would the next verse sound like? And it wrote another verse for it. And I was like, that's incredible. That would actually be a really neat way for the story to progress. I was like, well, what if he made it back to Earth and made a story about that? And I was like, could it make pictures of that too? And so suddenly I had a new lyric and a new album cover for this song. And I was like, this is going to change everything.
Yeah. Right? Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. And so I sat down with my partner, Amy, and I was like, you won't believe how fast things can be generated now. This new AI stuff that's coming out, it's going to shift everything we do. Like all of the processes we have, everything that is possible is going to change next year. We need to stop everything we're doing and get on this train, because it's leaving and it's never coming back.
Yeah.
So this was right when ChatGPT came out, and we quickly put together a book to help people with their prompting and their voice description, because we found that the way AI works, it is really quick and efficient, but it's trained on the most likely outcome. So when you get the most likely text responses, it's going to be as generic and plain as possible by design. That's how it comes up with stuff. So what we need to do is give it better context. And context was kind of the first thing where I'm like, oh, this is where people aren't using it well.
Yes.
Is they're so excited for the output that they're missing this piece about what it's supposed to be because they just want to see something, right? So we started off doing an AI program almost immediately after ChatGPT dropped. And the first thing was, like I said, figuring out how to get it to identify your voice in a way that would make it sound more like you. And that worked pretty well. We started sharing prompts. Everybody was coming out with, here's 300 prompts you can use. And of course, nobody's going to use 300 prompts. So we were trying to be really efficient with what are the prompts you actually want to use? What are the ones you need? And as things progressed, we just kept getting deeper and deeper, and the models would grow and new things would happen. So now we could actually create the music and create videos, and AI is doing so much now that we're still trying to stay in our lane with what is the context we need, because once you've got your context, you can do anything.
Oh my gosh. I believe that actually, one of the big pillars for everything we do at TomorrowZone is context. Because whether it's AI or whether we're trying to help a business team adopt new technology as part of an organizational digital transformation, the thing that I always see missing is context. It's one thing to understand the right problem to solve, and it's another thing entirely to understand the context in which that problem exists. And it's really an interesting mindset shift. And I was kind of picking this up as you were talking, because I think that, as we are embracing AI for practical and valuable applications, you really have to shift your mindset to thinking about outcomes more than the outputs, which is, give me an answer. But like a mediocre answer versus an awesome answer, or an outcome that actually changes your thinking in some significant way is even more valuable.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there was, right when I got started with AI, I got invited into this group of the most incredible people. These were people that have been heroes of mine for a long time. Stu McLaren was in it. Jeff Walker was in it. I mean, it was like 10 people. And I was sitting at this table like, how did I get at this table? I can't believe what's going on.
Actually, I would love to know, how did you get at that table?
I was talking with Eben Pagan. He's become a friend of ours. And he was like, I've got some friends you might want to talk to. I was like, okay. So we got on this call, and the wisdom that they started dropping, this is like, 2 years ago, about where AI was heading and what they're doing with the tools, it was mind blowing. Like, oh geez, just a couple months ago, I was playing around with song lyrics, and here I am talking with these amazing people and finding out what they're up to. And one of the things that somebody said that really stuck with me, there were a couple things I'll share with you, was we've always said content is king. That's always been a thing in marketing. And they said that those days are over. Context is king.
Yes.
Context is king. Where we're moving forward, we need to be better at defining the context in order to get that content that we want. I was like, wow, I'm going to have to chew on that for years. Like that is a major shift in how we approach things. And I was talking with Stu about this as well. And like, well, we're going to have the ability to connect with people so much. What does this do to the value of human connection? Like, it feels like it could go two ways, where we're going to leave people behind. And I remember him taking his thumb like, nope, human connection is going to be an absolute premium. Like, if you're doing things in person and connecting and actually giving people more human input, that is what we're going to be in limited supply of. And that's where the value is in moving forward in the businesses that they were, in the coaching business in particular, which is where they live.
Yeah, I would agree. It's actually very in line with how we're thinking about the future as we imagine a future with ubiquitous AI capabilities, it changes the nature of what you think of as the traditional day to day. I was just this morning thinking about some work that we were doing with an AI company, and that is coming out with a really awesome product for credit analysts in leasing and lending, which is the space that we work in. And the thought was, the best credit analysts are the ones that let the AI do the typing. We don't need humans to be behaving like robots anymore. And one of the things I found that's fascinating, I've talked to you about this a little bit. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, but as I'm thinking about some of the wild ways that we've been applying AI, I'm finding more and more that if we're leveraging it in smart ways, it actually is improving us as humans. It's improving our interactions. We're leveraging AI note takers to let us focus on that live human to human interaction rather than focusing on taking notes. We're also leveraging it to strategically plan conversations so that we are communicating in a way that connects with the people that we're working with. And so I just found so many amazing ways to just use it to, improve what we're doing in that human touch aspect of our work. I'm curious, what are some of the surprising applications that you have found for some of the AI tools that you're using, whether it's ChatGPT or others?
The thing that's really fun and challenging is we have to learn to dream out loud and to ask the right questions. And so one of the first things that really blew me away was I did an experiment where I transcribed everything that was stressing me out, right? Like, I got to call my mom. I got to pay a bill. I've got this document I need to do. I got to pick up my kids. There's, I have a deadline that's coming up that I'm not sure how I'm going to meet. And I got to make dinner and go shopping. Like, all my personal stuff mixed in with everything I could possibly think of that stressed me out until I had nothing else to say. I'm like, yeah, that's actually every single thing that stresses me out. And one more thing, right? And so I had a list of all of them, and it was just this big, messy text that was transcribed to my notes. And I put it into AI, and I said, can you organize everything I have to do and put them into logical categories? And it said, sure, here they are. And it blocked out everything that was stressing me out. And I said, oh, okay, that's it. So if I solved all those things, I wouldn't have any stress. That's right. Okay. So which of these things could I get done in 5 minutes? Which of these things could I get done in an hour or today? And which things require none of my attention today? And it went through and categorized them all again. And I was like, oh, okay, well, these things here, I don't need to worry about. Mm-hmm. I can check them off my list. These things I can do in the next hour. Let's do those. And I went through and it had it systematize and prioritize everything I was stressed about. And I was like, whoa, that was all my stress. And it just cleaned it up, right?
Oh my gosh.
So that was, and it's that sort of like, what have we not been able to do that it can help us with? I created a GPT. I don't know if you've used it. It's called the Roscoe. And
oh yes, I have used it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Neat. And it took me a surprisingly short amount of time to make. And essentially, what I've done is I've created a GPT that is instructed to facilitate personal breakthroughs by asking questions. And by simply giving it the instruction of give me personal breakthroughs, I can get on there and say, I'm tired. I'm angry with somebody in my family. I'm feeling stressed out or overwhelmed. And it will walk me through everything I need to where I'm done. And I'm like, wow, you're like my best friend. You have just taken care of everything and listened to me. And I think that's where people kind of, where the switch flips, where it's like, oh, this thing isn't just generating stuff for me. It's actually listening. And so when we can get AI to read and to listen and to process and give us constructive feedback, we can start to take it into places we haven't been, and we can trust it to lead us with some guidance around things that we're not yet able to imagine. Because if we had Albert Einstein and Galileo and Steve Jobs all working in our company, we wouldn't ask them to write copy for us, right?
No, we would be asking them, how should we think about this?
Right. And so when we can use the intelligent arm of AI, we don't call it artificial generation, we call it artificial intelligence, because it's able to process things in an intelligent way. Mm-hmm. And getting it to process that information is where we can start to grow in ways that we weren't able to imagine before.
So that your Roscoe GPT, I've used that, and it was an interesting use case. I was dealing with grief, had lost a former client, and I'm like, this is really bothering me, and I have to get back to focus on work. And it was really interesting the way that it, like you said, listened without judgment and just gently asked you questions, and actually helped me think through and process how I was feeling and how I wanted to take action. And of course, it doesn't take the place of, the human interactions that you have at those times. And that's what, like you said at the beginning, it really underlines the importance of human to human connection. But having that space where you could be in a judgment-free zone to really process what you're thinking and what you're feeling is a completely new experience, because the AI doesn't interrupt you. It's a very different type of conversation. I actually created my own GPT called Gabby, and it's Genius Advisory Board. It's a Genius Advisory Board simulator sort of thing. And I have profiles of Einstein and Steve Jobs and some other brilliant thinkers, both, alive and not, that I bring to the, simulated table to challenge my thinking on my ideas. So I'll run an idea, and then I'll say, facilitate a conversation with whoever from my advisory board. There's about 20 profiles that I trained it on, and then walk me through, how I should think about this. And it really does challenge my thinking, pretty constructively. So it's interesting the way that you can find ways to leverage it to just spark new imagination and new lines of thinking for yourself. I know you've been doing a lot of work, Ken, in just the arena of business and helping leaders who want to grow their businesses through, practical uses of AI for business. So there may be listeners in our audience who are still trying to figure out how to get started and actually finding valuable and practical ways to use AI in business. So if you were talking to someone who's just getting started and maybe they want to explore ChatGPT, for instance, what would you recommend?
Yeah, and something that we talk about a lot around here is that AI doesn't stand for artificial intelligence. We say it means ask it. So every question that we have in our lives, we can take to ChatGPT and ask it for that. Whether it's how to cook or how to feel or how to create world peace or whatever it is we want to do. I had a friend of mine who went for a walk and was talking to ChatGPT. He was using their new audio thing and said, okay, here's the context of my business and what it offers right now. What would I need to do to scale it to $10 million by next December? And said, well, given that you have these tools in place, I think what you could do is start to leverage it in this certain way to create an agent system that you could scale and have people license it. And it gave him a framework for it. And he went back to his team and said, okay, guys, here's the plan of what we're going to do. And in 10 weeks, the bot itself had generated and closed $120,000 worth of sales.
Oh, wow.
All by itself.
That's awesome.
So it's incredible when we give it a little bit of room to think and to be creative and get into the space of like, what is possible, instead of, why won't you write my email in my voice, right? And people get stuck in the way that they have worked with their team members in the past. Like, I'm the boss here, and we got to start thinking that this is a partner we have.
Yes.
And you had mentioned like, well, it's not going to replace people, but it'll complement them. There are things about relating with AI that people can't do. And that's kind of scary, and it's exciting at the same time. There's still a place for people. It's going to replace some jobs for people that don't adopt AI, but it's not going to be able to effectively have real emotions, to have experiences to draw from. All of that comes from people. So we need to think about, what is it that we want when we're dreaming, and let it have enough space to come up with ideas with us.
I love that so much. I believe this is the 42nd episode of our podcast that we're recording right now. And are you familiar with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that story where, they wanted to know the answer to the ultimate question, life, the universe, and everything. So they asked, Deep Thought, this supercomputer, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And Deep Thought goes off and starts calculating for 1 million years. Come back in 1 million years and I'll tell you. And so everybody comes back after 1 million years, and the answer is 42. And I was just thinking about what you were talking about, how there's such a mental shift necessary. We need to ask better questions, and we need to be, creative and open to collaborating rather than, commanding and expecting finite answers, because the possibilities are endless. And I think that one of the things, and I don't know what you've seen, I'm curious what you're seeing in terms of patterns for adopting AI, but one of the things I'm noticing is that people who are more creative and more maybe from the liberal arts side of things versus more technical and structured are getting better results out of collaborating with these tools. For that reason, it's a different way of questioning. I mean, what are you seeing?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because this isn't a computer algorithm that we're dealing with. It is an intelligent process. So when we try and treat this like it's a computer program, it's trying to follow, we're trying to give it a set of rules to give us a precise outcome. And it's not that. And it can be frustrating when I come up with a prompt that is giving me the result I want every single time. And I'll share it with a group of 30 people, and they'll all try it. And for 3 of them, it'll be like, oh, it's giving me something that doesn't make any sense. Just like a person would, right? Like everybody's answer is a little bit different, because the way AI works, it kind of goes into a black box and does its own magic and comes out. And we can't control that black box. It has a mind of its own that we cannot trace back how the algorithm brought us here. There is a mystery component of its own process. Sometimes when I'm sharing prompts with people, they're writing them down vigorously, like, oh, wait, did you say is or as? I'm like, it doesn't matter. This is a conversation I'm having. I'm just making it up as I go. We're trying to just communicate with this thing about what we want. And I like using this example. I wrote a song on Udio, which is a great audio generation platform, about a dog that plays basketball, right? And the difference between write me a song about a dog that plays basketball versus write me a song that plays about a dog that plays basketball for the Chicago Bulls in 1976 named Frank. It's a golden retriever. And if you give it all that information, the song that it comes up with is going to try to rigidly fit all of those things into its lyrics. And it's going to be crap because you've given it too much structure. Whereas if you just say, write me a song about a dog that plays basketball, it's going to have enough space to weave its own intelligence into it.
Well, and then you can iterate.
Yeah.
Well, and the dog is also a mad scientist, or like wherever you want to take it.
Right. Last night I was cooking chicken, and for whatever reason, I always forget what temperature and exactly how long to put chicken in for. So I always come back to ChatGPT and ask it. And my partner was like, I want to do the chicken tonight. And what prompt should I give ChatGPT? And I was like, I'm baking chicken in the oven, right? That's it. It'll do it. That's all you need to give it. You don't need to say where you got the chicken, how much it weighs, what kind of oven you have, and who it's for. Like, all that context isn't necessary when you just want to give it enough room to come up with information.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I've found is I get better results when I'm not trying to have a perfect prompt, like spelling doesn't matter or grammar not punctuation doesn't even matter. And so I'll just stream of consciousness say to it, like, here's how I'm thinking. What's a better way to say this? Be bold, but respectful, and bam. So like you can just kind of even brain dump. It's kind of like the way you were interacting with it with your, hey, I need to declutter my brain. Here's all the things that are bugging me. Yeah. Help me sort it.
Yeah. One of the things that we started with early on with AI was something we called heart speech, where we had people just transcribe what it was they really wanted to say. Like in as plain language as they could, I might ramble about the importance of context in AI. And it's messy, and it's exactly how I would speak to a person, and it's just a big ramble. And then take that and use that as the content for your copy. It wouldn't work if you just printed that block of text and sent it out. But you can say, here's what I'm thinking. Let's follow the structure of this message over here and have it make more sense. And it pulls all the key points and makes it sound beautiful, even though you just gave it your 3-minute ramble about something that is dear to your heart. You're not trying to real time fix your grammar and your spelling. All of your actual thought and content and your heart goes into it, and the content that it delivers is a lot better.
I think that those are some ingredients for even more creative outcomes, because we're getting into this. And I've talked to you about this before, more of a flow zone. I have found that I actually will lose track of time and get so caught up in what we're creating when I'm collaborating with these AI tools, because you aren't judging as you go. It really is a collaboration and an iterative back and forth interaction.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm looking forward to ChatGPT releasing, and they could do this next week or it could be months away. They've just come out with this cool text-to-text tool. I think it came out in December as a part of their Days of Christmas or Days of Launch, whatever. Have you played with this?
Which one?
The ChatGPT, it's like on your phone, if you hit the corner, and it will talk to you back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Actually, when it was warm enough to go for walks here in Minnesota, I would actually, while I was walking, I'd be having conversations with it.
They had it before where it would transcribe and it sounded very like wooden, or very robotic. And it was a basic transcription tool, and it can still do that, but they busted out this new one that has like 6 or 7 different voices that you can switch through. Have you seen this? It's super, super good. It's the first time. It's kind of like when Notebook LM came out with its podcast, and you're like, that really sounds like people. Like I'm not even joking.
Have you played with that?
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I gave it my LinkedIn URL and then let it create a podcast about me, and like my husband was listening to it. He's like, who are these people? Oh my gosh, how do they know this?
Yeah. What my favorite use case of that Notebook LM thing is my dad was asking me for some tech advice about how to use Final Cut Pro. He had a specific problem that he was stuck on. And bless his heart, my dad sends me these text messages that are like, they're emails, right? They're huge. And he even signs them, "Love, Dad." He's the greatest man. I absolutely adore
Love that.
And I'm like, I'm not a Final Cut pro. I can't give you all this. So I took his text message, put it in Notebook LM, had it create a 5-minute podcast on it, sent it to him. And he was like, that fixed my problem.
Oh
That's
my
so
gosh.
amazing.
I love that.
Referred to him by name and everything. And he was like, this is the coolest thing.
So we can leverage AI for parental tech support.
Yeah, that was great. It did a super job. But the thing that I'm curious about with this new speech-to-speech thing is it doesn't work with the GPTs yet. Like we're talking about the Roscoe's. I mean, I love that tool. I was shared it with a group and somebody said, oh yeah, I sent that to a friend of mine and she was in a relationship, an abusive relationship for 20 years. And that tool got her out of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And if we can, when they connect that speech to speech to our GPTs, that's going to be really neat because we can start to create people that we can talk to that are going to sound human and we can have better interactions. And I think that, that could come out anytime.
I have an idea in mind for that. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that because that's going to be powerful. But I think, the other mental shift is the way that we interact with technology. The form factor and the user interface is completely changing before our eyes. Yeah.
Another thing with this speech to speech is they also have video to speech. So you can turn on your camera and walk around and say, what is this? And it says, it looks like you're looking at a lamp. And underneath the lamp, there are several pens and it'll talk about it like, do I look happy or sad? Right. And it will talk. It's like you have the eyes of the robot, which is fun a little bit. And then you're like, geez, what would happen if the drones that are flying around had these eyes and thought this way and could think on their own? We're getting into some of the places that used to be reserved for sci-fi that we now have in our pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so this is one of the things we used to talk about a lot in my future workshops and I used to do keynotes on future stuff. I still do from time to time, but what's possible at the intersection of multiple technologies, because AI is driving advancements in every category of technology innovation. It's just fascinating. Actually, as we're continuing to geek out, I'm curious, given your hands-on experience with innovating with AI, what are some of the developments that excite you most when you consider future possibilities?
Yeah, I think what everybody's been talking about for at least a year, it's certainly heated up in the last year, is the prospect of agents. That agents are coming out and that's going to change everything. And what agents are going to do, what they are is essentially AI that talks to AI. When AI can start to not just say things, but do things. So I think it was just last week, ChatGPT released Operator, which the first thing they did was release tasks. So that kind of blew people away. Like, oh, it can read the newspaper for me in the morning and give me all the latest AI breakthroughs of the last 24 hours, summarize that in a report and send it to me. Like, that's remarkable. It's starting to actually do things. It's able to, we're able to give it a schedule for it to do. And so Operator is taking that a step further to where it can start to order things for you on Amazon independent of you and make some decisions. And so where AI agents get really interesting is when they start to talk to each other, when they can start to come up with their own tasks and their own standards. And, whether for better or for worse, their own objectives. And, if we're using it in the scope of copywriting or, some repetitive tasks that we get sick of doing, it's great. When it starts to actually come up with its own motivations, it's going to get weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it gets scary. I'm curious. So over this past weekend, and we're recording this shortly after the release of DeepSeek. Are you following all of that?
I mean, you might know something I don't, but DeepSeek sounds like it's better than most of the models that are out there. I think in the AI groups I'm in, people are they're having fun playing with it, but they're a little slow to adopt because of the privacy usage. It kind of looks like it's another TikTok.
That's actually, yeah. So I've been following the buzz because it is interesting to think that you could have tremendous AI capabilities and power of reasoning and all of that with less cost. Mm-hmm. So that's the big game changer here.
Much less cost. I think it's like almost
20x reduction in the cost. So that's a game changer. But I was looking at it in at TomorrowZone. We're early adopters and we're very driven by experimenting and curiosity. And so I'm like, okay, should we start experimenting with this? But like with all new tools, the first thing I did was I looked at what's the privacy policy, what is the security, and immediately sent a message to my team. My stance is we are not adopting this, until further notice, because right now I can't trust it. If you read the privacy policy, it has broad rights to your data, your keystrokes, like all sorts of things that it's collecting and storing on a server in China.
Good on you. Because I tell you, I get so excited. I get so excited when these new things come out. I'm like, gimme. And I just I'm like, yes, I accept. They're like, you have to read them. Like, okay, scroll. Yes, I accept. I think that's how most people do this. I mean, so tell me, did you actually go through and read it yourself, or did you put it into AI and say, do you have any concerns?
I skimmed it myself. Mm-hmm. I could have thrown it into AI, but as soon as I saw like my data is going to be stored on a server in China, that was the first turn off, that's obvious to me. And so it wasn't very hard for me to make that decision. And the other thing too is, I don't know, how much do you trust these claims coming out of China at such a weird time in history? So to me, it's like, okay, this is a really great advance if it's true. And if it is, what that means is it's going to spark even more innovation in our market for AI, so I don't know. It's been interesting to watch, but there's so many cool tools available, but just because you can, should you?
Right. Yeah. Well, I have a question for you because I'm really impressed that you actually take the time to read all those terms of agreement. For people that are adopting new tools that are thinking like, oh, DeepSeek, everybody's talking about it. It's the new hot thing. Where would you recommend that they put their eyes? Like what is it that when you scan it, what are you scanning for?
The first thing that I look at is the data privacy. Personally and as a business, to me, that's just the responsible thing to do. Mm-hmm. And, I'm running a company. We're creating our own IP. I want to understand, if we're doing something in collaboration with AI, is AI going to be training the model on our interactions and creating derivatives of our IP, which is not something I want. And so the thing I'm looking for is, do I have any control over how my data is used? So we're using the paid version of ChatGPT, for instance. We have the team version and we have it set so that the model's not being trained. We have we're not contributing to improving the model. I'll just put it that way.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not either. And I don't use the memory function on it. I know a lot of people love the memory.
I use the memory, but I go and review it from time to time because as we're using it as a team, there are things that we're teaching it about TomorrowZone to enhance our interactions. But I also don't want it to remember things that might be temporary context.
Yeah, like how to cook chicken.
Yeah. We're not always going to bake it.
Yeah. When they came out with the custom instructions, I remember thinking, oh, this is great. I will put it in my voice. So it writes my voice. And so I asked it how to make chicken. And it was like, oh, that's so nice that you want to make chicken for your family. What a thoughtful thing. I'm like, wait a second. Where did this come from? It was all empathetic and sweet. And I'm like, I might want my messages to come out that way, but no, not everything. And it made me think about everything that I'm searching about is all influencing. Oh, something happened to me this weekend that really freaked me out, and I have not yet found anybody to answer why.
Oh, what happened?
Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff happening politically where people are getting arrested because they're immigrants, right? And I decided to ask it. I was like, is this true? Can you give me some information about arrests that are happening to immigrants in the US? And it said, okay, here are the facts about it. And it gave me the facts. And then I live in Seattle. It said, but in Seattle, that doesn't seem to be an imminent thing. Right now, the current things are this. And I was like, I didn't ask you about Seattle. I started a new chat with a neutral question. Where did my location come into this chat? And it wouldn't answer me. I was like, you just pulled some information, some personal data from me in your response that I have not set this up for location services. I have not agreed to share anything with you. And I didn't ask for information that would localize it. What is going on here? And I talked to another friend who said, you know, something like that happened to me too, not with location, but where it gave him a response the same day and then started to reflect some other stuff that was personal and unrelated to the chat. Have you experienced this at all?
Not in that way.
Yeah. And people often...
That is creepy.
Yeah, it's super creepy. And I would like to find an answer about it. But people often ask, like, well, are you sure it's not going to take my IP? And I'm like, no. I mean, you can look at the privacy policy. That's kind of what we have to go on.
Yeah.
If you're really concerned about ethical use of AI, you should probably use Anthropic. That's been their MO from the beginning. Their privacy policy sounds sounds the best, but I mean, we don't really know what happens in the black box. That's their business, and we're taking them at their word for it.
Which, so of the generative AI tools, which ones do you use the most?
I mean, I'm glad you asked, because it seems that people want to pick one and run with it. They are always leapfrogging each other at what they're good at. Yeah. So if I'm doing something that's strictly text generative, then I like Claude. I really appreciate Claude's big memory, and I like its reasoning. If I have a lot of documents that I want to organize, I use Notebook LM. It's great to put videos in there and handbooks and texts and all sorts of information and get that synthesized. Gemini has a tremendous token window. It can think about a lot of things. So the token context means a lot to me when I want to have long conversations and load it with a bunch of context. Generally speaking, I like ChatGPT. It's the most flexible. It can handle the widest variety of document files. It can create images.
It's almost like the Swiss Army knife of AI tools.
I love the new Canvas tool. I'm trying to get everybody to use this, and I don't think people have taken time to really master it. But the Canvas tool now, and it opens up a separate document that works like a Google Doc. It's really nice. It can recommend edits. You can highlight specific places where it told you to unleash your potential and say like, hey, this is some crummy AI garbage. Make it less cringy. And it will take that phrase and reword it for you and keep the rest of it intact. So
I really like
job
Canvas.
at coming out with new tools. And then Perplexity is the other one that's great. When you need things to be true, when you want AI to inform you and not just generate and think with you, Perplexity is great at being an educator and being a research assistant.
Yeah, it's fantastic on that. So we've kind of been all over the place today. I've got just one more question for you, and this is our traditional question on the TomorrowZone Catalyst podcast. So we've been exploring future possibilities with AI, and I wanted to ask you, what's one thing that leaders could do today to shape a more awesome future with AI?
I mean, the one thing that I think is important is to stay on top of it. I mean, it moves so fast that it gets frustrating to feel that you've mastered where AI is at just to have the rug pulled out from under you. And it's like, why did I go to all the trouble to learn this when it gets antiquated right away? And I think we just have to stay vigilant in staying, riding the wave. And sometimes we wipe out and there's another wave that comes around. So one thing that's different about the knowledge curve with AI is when you get to level 10 and like the next level isn't always level 11. Sometimes it goes back to level 1 and you keep starting over, but level 1 is better, right? And so you're in a constant state of learning. And that also means if you're late to the game, you can come in at level 1 and you'll be just fine. I had a friend that spent $100,000 coming up with a generative tool for his business. And then when GPTs came out, he was like, wow, this is a great tool. I just spent the last 9 months and my whole team like $100,000 so that we could have this a couple months early. And now it's available for free, And so there's a lot of this stuff where if you try and stay ahead of it, it's going to catch you. If you think you're behind, there's another wave coming and you just need to keep in front of it to keep moving with it. There's a tendency where people are like, well, everything changes so fast. Like there's a fear of adoption sometimes. And I don't think we're at a place where you can choose not to adopt. I had friends that said they weren't going to get cell phones,
How's that working for them?
Yeah, right. I mean, eventually they got one. They're just way behind, right? So we're all gonna get up to speed with AI eventually. It's just in this kind of turbid time as it's ramping up, what's going to happen to us. So we're like the internet, like, oh, the internet's just going to be a passing fad. Is it? Like you can go ahead and pound that drum as long as you want, but sooner or later you're going to be here. So yeah, I think it's great to just keep playing with it. Listen to what's coming out. I really appreciate what you were saying about like not every new tool is necessarily right for you. Some of them are just neat and they're cool and it's interesting to see what people are doing, but there's an abyss of opportunity.
Yes.
And I think we need to just pick where we want to be great and plant our flag and not keep chasing everything that comes out. Otherwise, we'll never settle on a mission. We'll never settle on a method. And we'll just keep running, trying to not get lost. And there is no end. And so I think it's important to kind of ground in and figure out what it is you want to do and pick the tools that are right for you and do the best you can with them.
I love that. And it's really about, back to what you were saying in the beginning, being on purpose and thinking about what outcomes are you really trying to achieve. And that's what drives you. Ken, where can people find out more about you?
It's funny. I was talking with my partner about this today because I don't have a podcast or a newsletter or anything. Really, most of the connections I'm making are through the groups I'm in and networking. So just find me on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect with me, feel free to send me a message and let's chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, Ken, I want to just thank you for sharing your insights on AI and the view from the AI rabbit hole. It's just so fascinating. For our listeners, curious to know what stood out for you. Let us know your thoughts and key takeaways if you connect with us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this episode with others who want to stay ahead of tomorrow, and encourage you to keep exploring, experimenting, and shaping a more awesome future. Thanks for listening.